Welcome back to the 2023 Run Rabbit Run 100. I'm Jamil Curry with Mountain Outpost here with Zach Marion, two-time finisher of this race.
That is right.
And we are getting down to the wire on our interviews, but we are now joined with Adam Loomis from Utah and Michael Wirth from British Columbia, but from Colorado originally.
Yeah.
So excited to have you guys here. Welcome to Steamboat.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here and appreciate you guys putting on this coverage.
Oh, if you guys could just pull up.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, forgot to say that.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Not totally from British Columbia, but spent the summer there.
Right on. Sweet. Michael, I understand you are predominantly a skier, but you've been kind of getting into the trail running and ultra running, long distance stuff. Tell us about your background, maybe your main sport, and then what are you doing over here on the trail side of things?
Yeah, I mean, kind of started backcountry skiing when I was like 13, and yeah, started taking it a lot more seriously in my early 20s. And then I guess just love the sport an unbelievable amount. So yeah, I don't do skimo racing like Adam does. I just do backcountry, like big mountain objectives. And kind of the natural transition into the summertime is go run on trails to go access beautiful mountains. And decided to enter into a couple races to do that side of things after having done a couple FKTs. And tried to do this race last year, DNF'd. I'm back to try to do it again because running 100 miles seems like a pretty fun thing to do.
Nice. So you won the Telluride Mountain Run last year, which is pretty big technical mountain race, probably right up your alley, just being a mountain athlete. How did your race unfold last year? How far did you make it here?
Yeah, I made it to 40 miles, and then I actually had a rupture in my intestine and had some internal bleeding and was like, had black liquid coming out. And so called it after that. It was a very amateur NSAID-induced internal bleeding move. You make mistakes, I guess. I'm only 25, which is young in this world. Obviously, many great runners have won amazing races at young ages. But I'm excited to kind of be here again as a youngster in the field and give it my best. I think I'm going to go out much slower than I did last year because maybe that was like a fluke of a thing that caused me to DNF, but at the same time, I think it's also told me hey, buddy, you won one race. Go slow. 100 miles is a long ways.
A little bit of a humbling experience.
For sure, yeah.
Adam, you're, I guess, ski mountaineering athlete, also been running for quite a while. You have a win at the Bear 100. Tell us about your journey into the sport and what maybe, I don't know if you consider yourself primarily a skier or a mixed athlete.
That's a good question. So my background that actually brought me here to this race, as well as actually I used to live in Steamboat for a couple years, was I was a Nordic combined skier. So I competed for 6 years on the U.S. Nordic combined team. So obviously skier background, but then finished up my career on that side of things and kind of jumped into ultra running. And then actually skimo racing came a little bit later. And now they go hand in hand pretty well. I think in the running season, I'm always it's the focus. And then I always think I'm going to run all winter and be really ready the next year. And then ski season comes and I'm I just want to ski. So it's a mix, which is a good balance.
I mean, it seems like it's a pretty successful strategy for a lot of athletes. I know a lot of the top European ultra runners, they don't run at all winter long, and seems to work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, I don't think I can get away with that to that extent, or I need to learn how to build back in. I think it's one thing if you have this huge base that you can do that, but you can definitely take some time off and get a lot of hours in, just like Michael's doing.
What kind of strengths do you feel being on skis in the winter brings to your trail running experience in the summer?
I mean, in this race, being up high, a little bit of gear management, weather could be a factor. Maybe it's looking okay, but I also think spending time at night I don't worry too much about running with a headlamp because, like, in the winter, I'm doing weeknight races, schemo races at night. So running isn't, like, a huge issue.
Which is a huge crux to this course, being that every athlete is forced to run through the entire night, essentially. So yeah, that'll play into your strengths. Michael, same for you. You big mountain objective guy. You're used to spending hours out there in the backcountry. How do you see that playing out to your advantage here in Steamboat Springs?
I can go uphill well, but yeah, no, in all reality, skiing establishes a very large base, especially when you're doing 3,000-meter days, like really often in super technical terrain. You're just moving a lot and oftentimes out there for 10 to 14 hours. And as Adam said, like the nighttime component is, yeah, just the comfortability of moving at night. And then also, I think proprioception at night is probably going to be like an interesting component and also of importance, which just because like the neuromuscular capacity when the lights shut off is a totally different system for balance, and I think that's something that could be unique for a translation in running at night, especially at this race that starts at noon for the Hares.
Spoken like a true veteran. Most people are not bringing up the proprioception in light. Wow.
Well, I sprained my ankle, so I've been having to do a lot of PT.
Nice. I like that. Came from your PT's mouth, didn't
Yeah.
it? I like it. Okay.
How's been the build-up for each of you this summer? Training going well? Feeling like kind of fit and ready for this race tomorrow?
I had definitely a bit of a blip. I started racing in the spring, did a couple races scout and then Broken Arrow, and kind of had a nagging issue that I suddenly realized was like a real issue after Broken Arrow, and worked with a PT as well with some tendonitis, my patellar. And so if you look at my Strava, like it doesn't look ideal, but I did spend a lot of time in the gym, at least a lot of sessions. They weren't necessarily long. I think that's going to help, and I think we'll see what happens at 70 miles.
He's forged in the Wasatch. He's ready. He's ready. Every mile in the Wasatch is a quality mile.
Yeah, you got to chase those segments, eh? Yeah, answering your question, I also had an injury, so I've been kind of dealing with that throughout July. But yeah, really, I've been decided to like throughout August just go run in the mountains and like do really large kind of scrambling objectives that were like I strategically oriented them around trails that would be better for this course. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Just beat up my legs as much as I could, and yeah, excited.
What's the draw for each of you to come to this race? Is it that you were out here before and kind of had that Steamboat experience? Why you wanted to toe the line out here?
Yeah, that's definitely been a factor. Having it been one of the first ultras that I was around when I lived here, knew people that were racing it. And I've been trying to do this race a few times. The first time I was signed up, they were going to go during COVID, and then they finally decided they couldn't do that. And then last year I was ready to go until like 5 weeks out. I crashed my mountain bike and broke my ribs. So at this point, it's like been on the list for a while. So I'm excited to make it to the start line tomorrow.
Right on. How'd you first kind of get out to this one last year?
I think like in and of itself, the sections of running through Aspens are quite drawing. But ultimately, like I would love to run Hard Rock one day, and this, of course, is a qualifier for that. Yeah.
Get those tickets rolling, right?
It might be a few years. Good thing
Yeah.
you're 25.
Yeah.
Take your time. One question that I've been asking a lot of athletes, just because for me recently, I've been doing this sport for 10 plus years, and my crew and my pacing has been my pacers have been very consistent over the years. I found like my people that can do their thing. Who are each of you bringing to crew? You can't pacers obviously, but crew, and why did you choose them?
Yeah, one of my good friends, Anna Asamont. I brought her because I feel like we both just support each other in our athletic endeavors, and she's great to have along. And then we also brought my friend Mike, and why I say we brought him is because he just had ankle surgery, so he's going to be there for like the good vibes and like blowing on the vuvuzela, but not really like actually crewing.
You got to have like the fun crew guy that brings that like element of excitement. I like that. Nice call.
I'm fortunate enough to have my parents as well as my girlfriend flying and driving in. Both live on sort of the other side of the country. And my parents were my crew at the Bear 100, my first 100. And it was a first experience for them, but they've been around athletics quite a bit with myself and my brother. And parents are great because like you're really comfortable telling them what you need. So you appreciate them, but sometimes like maybe it's a little easier to just be like, this is what I need to your mom than your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's been taking care of you for how many years? She can handle it. You know, you can trust it.
Adam, I want to hear a little bit more about your experience at the Bear. Was that filled with some low moments, some trying times, or was it kind of smooth sailing and just one of those like great runs, just everything went well?
It was a pretty amazing experience. I ran the first 50 with Brian Coolmo, who raced Hard Rock this year. We had a lot of fun chatting together. And then I had a pretty smooth race. I had one moment where I should have had some extra water and was like, it's a long way between aids. I ended up just drinking from a stream that I was like, if I get Giardia, it's going to be a couple weeks, so I'm going to risk it. And that probably saved my race. And
I know exactly what section you're talking about.
Yeah, like in the 65 miles. But then Caleb Olson came out, and we ran the last 25 together, and it was like kind of an out-of-body experience. So I can only hope to have another race like that.
It's amazing when it all clicks together sometimes.
Yeah, and you can take some things that you learned from that, bring them here, hope to recreate that day. But conversely, naivety is a beautiful thing in 100-mile races. I remember my first couple races, you can race out of your mind and not really realize what's happening. Do you think kind of being slightly inexperienced in the 100-mile distance, but really getting after it, do you think that can be a strength for you tomorrow?
Yeah, I suppose. I think like since the majority of what I focus on in athletics is like big ski mountaineering objectives, try to avoid the concept of naivete, because like in situations like that, naivete will usually, like if you put yourself in a lot of the situations that I have, like you would just die.
Slightly more dangerous in the backcountry than on these trails.
And so, no, like, I mean, I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about the race a lot. I don't think that I'm completely going into it with a naivete. Obviously, experience speaks volumes, and I don't have that. But trying to plan as much as possible for it. Yeah.
Fair. As much as you plan, there is something that happens after mile 60 that you only get to experience when you get there. I'm excited for you to tap into that and for your race to unfold.
Totally.
It's going to be awesome
I see
to
what
watch.
you mean now, and like I'm slightly scared, honestly, but like also very excited.
Yeah, I think that's the part of the naivete, as you say, that you get to experience. That like that fear of not knowing what's going to be there on the other end of mile 60, mile 70. As many hours as you train, there's just something about that consistent one push effort on that other end that you get to experience for the first time, and it's going to be really exciting.
Totally. And like Adam talks about the out-of-body experience, and I've had like the out-of-body experience before, but I think like with running in this sense, I always talk about it as like a transcendental experience. So like hopefully we both get nice versions of those, you know?
I'd be excited to see both of you guys out there just in your zen state, just floating up trail.
Hopefully, right?
right, hopefully. I expect it to happen. It's going to be a good day.
Well, it's been great getting to know you guys a little bit more. Do you guys have any other kind of closing thoughts going into tomorrow's noon start?
Oh, it's an interesting one for sure. It definitely adds the challenge because I kind of like like it in the sense that it makes it hard for everyone. Versus like a race like the Bear, I went home and got not home, but I went back and slept for like most of the night. And if you run a 24 or a 30 hour, like it's a totally different experience. In this race, it's like it doesn't matter how fast you are, you have to run through the night. And so I think that's cool.
Yeah, new start's going to be fun.
A little bit of an equalizer in that regards. I mean, the guys run in Western states. I mean, they don't even pack a headlamp.
Right, exactly.
Totally different experience than the rest of the pack.
Yep. I started. I did do my own 100 route last year. I started at 7 p.m. So had kind of some of those challenges as well.
What did you do?
After I wasn't able to do this race, I healed up and I ran a route in the Wasatch that kind of did the heart of the Wasatch and went over to Timpanogos. It was something that I'd schemed up a couple years ago.
I'm going to have to look into this route.
Yeah. So I named it the BFT, which is back to front to Timp. It is a pretty cool route, but because of the technicality of it, it goes on the Cottonwood Ridgeline. I wanted to hit that in daylight, so I was like 7 p.m. start is the best way to go, and
That is solid.
adds a challenge.
That is a solid route.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into that.
Sounds super rad.
Legit. Any other closing thoughts for you, Michael?
Thanks for doing this, and hope that we have nice weather tomorrow, which seems like we will. So
That's looking
lovely.
good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks
Thanks
guys.
so much.
See you guys out there.